So let's talk a little bit about one of the unintended consequences, or maybe it is intended. It's an intended consequence of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Let's throw up that first graphic here. U.S. News says, top U.S. Senate Republican calls on Biden for 5% increase in military spending. Now, they go on to say that 5% military increase is, it's above inflation too. So it would actually be more than 5% in total. Now, we are talking about a U.S. military budget that is absolutely gargantuan. In fact, I have a graphic on that I want to show you so you can see how purely insane this is. On the left, President's proposed discretionary budget, fiscal year 2022, $1.5 trillion, 50%. Now, this is discretionary, so it doesn't include like Social Security and Medicare. But 50% is the military. 50%. Look at the difference. So look, all the other things like education, housing and community, veterans benefits. 50% is the military. Now, on the other side there, you see the United States spends more on defense than the next 11 countries combined. So we spend $778 billion. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this chart on the right, I think is from 2019, so it's not as updated as the one on the left, but it's still in the ballpark. So $778 billion. Look at China, India, Russia, United Kingdom, Saudi Arabia, Germany, France, Japan, South Korea, Italy, Australia. I mean, all of them together equal us. All of them together. Look at Russia's sliver in there versus the U.S. So we're looking at what's happening in Russia, and we're saying, or in Ukraine, excuse me, and we're saying, well, we got to increase our military spending. We got to increase it. We got to increase it. How much more do you want? You don't think that is sufficient to keep us safe? And by the way, I got news for you. If we're ever using the tanks, the fighter jets, and all the stuff that money goes towards, it's already a wrap because it's already World War III, and it's only a matter of time until the nukes are in the air. If we have direct military confrontation with Russia, whether it's tanks or fighter jets or drones or whatever, or, just guns and soldiers on the ground, whatever, it's a wrap. You use that stuff, and all the money that was spent on that is a waste anyway, because somebody's pressing that nuclear red button, and it's over. It's done. So what are we doing here? Why are you doing this? Is this really necessary? The answer is no. We can still, if we cut our military budget in half, we would still have way more than Russia and way more than most of the other countries. We'd still have more than, whatever, like 5 or 6 countries combined, the next biggest ones. If we cut it in half, now think about what we could do with that money if we cut it in half. We'd still be able to defend ourselves just fine. And then we'd have all this money that we could use for education. We could use for free college. We could use for free healthcare. We could use for paid vacation time. We could use for higher wages. But no, it's always viewed as like the common sense position to politicians and our corporate media to increase military spending. In fact, nobody's going to say a word about how are we going to pay for it. Can we afford it? Well, wait, should we look at the budget now to see if we're already spending enough on the military? Nobody's going to show you that chart on CNN or MSNBC or Fox News. Nobody's going to talk to you about the reality. Nobody's going to tell you that if we have to use those weapons, that it's already a wrap because the nukes will be in the air in 5 minutes. Nobody's going to tell you that. So look, the reasonable response to this is actually what's happening in Europe, where now Germany, for example, is coming out and saying they've always spent like 1%, or post-World War II, they spent like 1% of their GDP on the military. Now they're kicking that up immediately, doubling it to at least 2%. Other European countries are like, oh shit, we got to spend on military stuff because Russia's aggressive. They just invaded Ukraine. Who knows where else they're going to go? We need to make sure we can defend ourselves. That's the rational response to what's happening here. The countries that are in the region who might be under a direct threat, they're rearming. And who would have thought everybody would be cheering on Germany rearming? What happened the last time Germany was armed to the teeth? Let me think about it. Now, look, it's different. That's not going to happen again, right? But it's just funny to think about. But here in the U.S., we don't need a military budget increase. Are you kidding me? We need to cut the military budget. We need to cut it. And this is all the hand-wringing and the screaming and the whining and the moaning about Build Back Better and the price tag is so high and can we really afford to do this? Look at what's in the bill. What was in the bill was lower drug prices for Americans. Don't tell me we can't afford that. We can't afford not to do that, or else grandma's going to die because she can't afford her medicine. Elder care was in there. Universal pre-K was in there. Extended child tax credit was in there. Can we afford to do that? Can we afford to make sure that children can eat? And nobody's going to talk about this, man. Nobody's going to talk about this. We're beefing up an already bloated military budget. For what? For what? For optics. You know? So we could be like, oh, we're really prepared for Russia. Our best hope is to just sanction Putin and the oligarchs and try to de-escalate. That's our best hope. You know, anything else, and we're playing with fire, dog. We're playing with fire, and our leaders are leaving us vulnerable. They are increasing the likelihood of nuclear catastrophe in World War III. So, of course this was going to be the reaction, of course. And I'm sure the Democrats can go right along with it. Oh yeah, 5% increase in the military budget, totally fine. That is one area where there is ironclad bipartisanship. No matter what, let's always increase the military budget a ridiculous amount. We'll all agree. And look, one of the main reasons also is that they're all funded by the military-industrial complex. They're all taking checks from Honeywell and Boeing and Lockheed Martin. And so they view this as, I'm serving my donors. I'm doing the thing I'm supposed to do. But of course, the American people get left behind because all this money we're blowing on that, and we're not spending on other basic things that we could use, that the American people could use. So here we go. This is further evidence, by the way, that we are in a new Cold War era. We really are. Or it's a semi-hot war because Russia invaded Ukraine. But we're right back there now because we're reacting as such. So, not good, man. Not good at all. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.